Good morning, and welcome to the worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Church in Idaho Falls. My name is Arthur Cole, today's worship associate. On this cold spring morning, we welcome you. We know you come here for different reasons: to find community, to seek your spiritual and personal truth, to question, to nurture your heart and soul, to be nurtured, to explore new ideas, to find comfort, and perhaps to find the answers to some of your bigger questions. We hope that here you will find comfort, connection, challenge, and love. We have a few announcements this morning, at least one that I know of, and that is that Friday evening, 5:30, the UU Men's Group will meet at Bill Beach's riverfront property in Firth. I hope it's going to be warmer than today. For details, please see Jim Sathi if you want to go. And after the service, please join us for beverages and conversations in Fellowship Hall downstairs. A reminder, next Sunday, on May 14th, our second Sunday shared meal will take place downstairs after the service. And please note that if you have joys, concerns, sorrows, and milestones that affected your life in the recent past, and that you would like to share with the congregation, you can do so by filling out one of the slips of paper that is at the entrance to the sanctuary, or if you attend the service online, by posting them in the chat box on the right of the screen. Last reminder, please silence your mobile phones during the worship service. Thank you.
I have announcements, please.
Yes?
The flowers right here are from our garden. There's a whole lot of beautiful daffodils and tulips that are planted. I think Claudia Pine planted them, so they're just fabulous. Go out and study them, but here's some. If you need to get a few, you can. Also, I'm going to be gone for about 3 weeks, mid-June to the first part of July. I'm going to Alaska to visit my old digs and my friends, and I really need someone to come in and help me water the garden. Otherwise, if it's another hot summer, we'll lose trees and we'll lose plants. I can get you set up. We have hoses. It's, maybe twice a week for an hour. It's not extensive. I'm not going to ask you to weed, just water. So my second big announcement of Beyond Plants. I got this vase this morning. I grabbed it to put the daffodils in, and I found a set of keys in there. They aren't mine. So I will leave them on that table, but if they're yours, here they are. They've reappeared.
Oh, that whoever's it was gave out. It's amazing what you find.
Thank you, Victoria. I encourage you now to find a comfortable position and to let your minds quiet down during a time of silence until I ring the peace bowl 3 times. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. Please join me in reading the Church's covenant, which is printed in the order of service. Love is the spirit of this community, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We will now light the flaming chalice, symbol of our faith, to illumine this day with words from Reverend Christine Robinson. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. The call to worship is from the Reverend Bill Schultz, who was president of the UUA. Come into this place of peace, and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory, and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power, and let its vision change your heart. Please rise now in body and spirit as we join in singing hymn number 360, Here We Have Gathered. Now we have time for all ages. Mardi.
Good morning. I have a book this morning. It is titled Earth Mother, written by Ellen Jackson and illustrated by Leo and Diane Dillon. And parents, think back to when your kids were little. You might recognize the style. This was illustrated by the people the couple who illustrated why mosquitoes buzz in people's ears. And that was like a favorite story of mine. But this one is Earth Mother. Earth Mother awoke with the dawn. She fanned sacred smoke in each of the 4 directions. Then she walked across the land, singing a morning song. Earth Mother gave the beetles shiny jackets. She hung green acorns on the oaks. Bending low, she placed a piece of summer in a flower's seed.
Can you stay closer to the microphone? I know you try.
She turned her gaze to the sage-covered deserts and blew across the mesas. A hawk cupped the warm air with its wings. Man greeted Earth Mother as she walked beside the river. He held a net in his hands to catch frogs for his breakfast. "You are kind to me, Earth Mother," said Man. "You have sent frog to fill my belly, and I am grateful." Man slapped his face. "But why have you sent this wretched mosquito to torment me, to sting me at night and drive me from my bed?" he asked. "Mosquito is bad, bad, bad. Frog, on the other hand, is sweet, tasty, and oh, so wonderfully delicious. If there were more frogs and no mosquitoes, none at all, this world would be perfect." So you can see what Earth Mother thinks of this. Man went back to work to the business of hunting for frogs. Earth Mother walked on. Earth Mother walked across the African savanna, wearing a robe fringed with falling rain. She filled the water holes and sharpened the thorn bushes. Her hand guided a sunbird to the blossoms sweet with nectar. She climbed a peak and flung a spear of lightning into the sky, and the mountains felt the sting and fury of her storm. In the north, Earth Mother powdered the trees with snow. Tiny crystals gleamed in the air like diamond dust. In the late afternoon, Earth Mother heard Frog calling. Frog sat on a rock near the lake. With a flick of his tongue, he caught a small insect and swallowed it whole. Thank you, Earth Mother, said Frog. Mosquito and her sisters fill my belly and give me life. But why have you sent man to catch me and eat me? Man is bad, bad, bad. Sweet, delicious mosquito, on the other hand, makes me happy. If there were more mosquitoes and no men, this world would be perfect. Earth Mother walked on and on. In the evening, Earth Mother dived with the whales into the depths of the ocean. Blue-green light trailed from her fingertips. A silver moon rose on the horizon. Earth Mother cradled an otter in a tangle of seaweed, rocking him on the waves. It was nighttime. As Earth Mother walked through a meadow, she heard a tiny voice. Earth Mother! Earth Mother! It is I, Mosquito, said the owner of the voice. Frog will surely feast on me tomorrow, or the next day. He has already caught most of my sisters. But I am grateful, Earth Mother, for man who lives by the river. He is tender and delicious. When I bite him in his bed, what's needed is more men and none of those useless frogs. Then this world would be perfect. Earth Mother sighed. Once more, she walked on. Earth Mother climbed the hill to her cloud teepee. She spangled a tree with fireflies. She spread spiderweb lace on the grass. Earth Mother said good night to the beetles, to the hawks, to the people, to the sunbirds, to the frogs, to the whales, to the otters, to the mosquitoes, to the fireflies, to her children everywhere. Then she went to sleep, and the world, in its own way, was perfect. And as I see no children, we will proceed to joys and concerns.
We now dedicate time to our joys, concerns, sorrows, and milestones, a time to share with this religious community events that have affected your life in the recent past, and to speak out for those we want to hold in our thoughts. I have one from Victoria, a joy. The water bath for winter birds is now used by robins for bathing and drinking. Yes, we see that. From Pam, a concern. Welcome Doug Pace back from California. He attended the memorial service for his mother. Leila Chambers has one, a joy. Karen Schaefer has glaucoma, and the pressure was high in her right eye. Procedure done Wednesday greatly lowered the pressure. So, good news. Another one, a joy from Pam. Welcome to Julie. Julie, welcome. A joy from Katrina, that it rained steadily through the night. I agree with that. And one from Rosie Sathi, a joy. Jim and I were married 56 years on Saturday. Congratulations. We light one last candle to lift up these joys and concerns, as well as the ones that remain in the silence of our hearts. The reading today is from the book A Lever and the Place to Stand by Franciscan priest Richard Rohr. Archimedes, who lived around 200 BCE, was a Greek philosopher and mathematician. He noticed that if a lever was balanced in the right place, on the right fulcrum, it could move proportionally much greater weights than the force applied. Archimedes wanted a fixed point in space. So if you have a big weight here and a small weight here, there's a balance. That's the problem. If the Earth was balanced on one end of the lever, when Archimedes applied his weight on the other side, it was magnified by the distance x from the fixed point. Therefore, if the Earth was distance x from the fixed point and Archimedes was jumping up and down on the other end of the lever, that was 1,000,000 times x in length, then his small weight would be magnified 1,000,000 times, and the Earth could theoretically be moved if the lever stretched far enough and the fulcrum point remained fixed close to the Earth. Then even a small weight at one end would be able to move the world at the other end. I think this offers us a fine metaphor for what our guest speaker, Karen Lansing, will talk about, Habitat for Humanity. The offering is a sacrament of the Free Church. It is supported by the voluntary generosity of all who join with us. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared hope and values. What is given in love is received with deep gratitude and love. May this congregation be worthy of all your gifts. Blessed be. And now for the presentation, I will introduce Karen Lansing, our speaker. Karen Lansing grew up in Plymouth Road in Plymouth County, Massachusetts. After graduating from high school, she enrolled in the University of Massachusetts in Amherst and anticipated getting a degree in mathematics with the modest goal of becoming a high school math teacher. Karen's education was interrupted when she married and made the decision to work while her husband completed his undergraduate program in forestry. Once hubby had his degree, there was a brief stop in Utah before the family moved to, of all places, Island Park. Although Island Park, Idaho was a culture shock, Karen learned to love the space and pace of her new life, and they had no desire to move back east. During her years in Island Park, Karen, in addition to raising her children, bred and showed American Eskimo dogs. While living in Island Park, Karen had a variety of jobs. She was the manager of the Island Park Village Resort Clubhouse, ran a pottery business for 11 years, and sold real estate. In 1994, Karen moved to Idaho Falls, where she continued her real estate career until taking on her current position as Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity, the Idaho Falls area. So please welcome Karen Lansing. Thank you.
I have a presentation, but I'm used to having it in front of me, so I'm going to be turning around to look at it. I apologize. Yeah, there we go. Can you put it? No, I'm good. All right. I get asked all the time why I'm so passionate about the work of Habitat for Humanity. It's a very long process that took me to Habitat. I was doing some research the other day on housing insecurity, and I came across a statistic that said 70% of people at some point in their life feel housing insecure. And I started thinking about that. When I was maybe in junior high school, my dad lost his job. The company he was working for went bankrupt. We had to sell our house and move into an apartment. I can remember those times just not feeling comfortable. My dad was a general contractor by trade, and so ultimately he built a new home for us. By the time I was in high school, we were living in this home, and at that time, a war injury that he had from the Second World War flared up, and he became completely disabled. Ultimately losing limbs, died with no arms and no legs. The home we lived in could have been sold, but my mom and my dad were so attached to it. Your dad built this home, and they never sold it while he was alive. And so we became house poor, and a lot of things changed for me. The fund that was set up for me to go to college disappeared. And, you know, we weren't poor, but we were house poor. And so that kind of has been something that has been part of me forever. I can remember in the late 70s, early 80s, when we moved to Island Park, Idaho, interest rates were double digits. I remember thinking, there's never going to be a time when we have enough money to buy a home. Unfortunately, that feeling is even worse today. You know, with inflation going up and the cost of housing and income staying pretty flat, there's so many families right here in Bonneville County that can no longer afford housing. So I look at it from that perspective. Habitat's philosophy of simple, decent, and affordable housing rings very, very true. So I came at it from personal experience, knowing that housing is a real difficult thing for a lot of people. And Habitat fills that void. Can you pull up the presentation for me? Maybe? If it doesn't come up, I can. It doesn't matter which one you start with. I'll wing it. Yeah. I like to talk about Peterson Place. It's called Peterson Place, Habitat for Humanity's Community of Hope. The reason we call it a community of hope is that is part of Habitat for Humanity's mission statement. Seeking to put God's love into action, Habitat for Humanity brings people together to build homes, community, and hope. I have some friends that don't believe in a higher power particularly, and they said, well, it sounds like a real Christian organization, and how does that affect things? And I said, if that bothers you on a personal level, try saying the mission statement this way, and I think it fits this crowd perfectly. Seeking to put love into action, Habitat for Humanity brings people together to build homes, communities, and hope. So that is the function of Habitat for Humanity. And it's okay, I'm going to keep going. Habitat for Humanity never charges a family more than 30% of their income. Think about that, guys. Today, a family for a 2-bedroom apartment, a newer, nicer condition apartment, you can find them cheaper, but they'll have issues. $1,200 is the going rate for a 2-bedroom apartment here in Idaho Falls, $1,200 a month. I have numbers on my presentation, which they're not committed to memory, but $1,200 a month, you'd have to make close to $30 an hour to be able to make enough money for that to be only 30% of your income. In the state of Idaho, minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, okay? McDonald's and places like that have raised their wages to $15 an hour in some places. Habitat's Restore people are now making $12, $13 an hour, but they cannot afford a 2-bedroom decent apartment in the city of Idaho Falls. So those are the things that we're looking at. 44% of the families in Bonneville County are Alice or below. There we go. Okay. Can you shrink it?
Let's see.
So you can see our anniversary date is May 13th. So we are 29 years old as an organization here in Idaho Falls. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to go from the hip. We have served 60 some odd families in eastern Idaho during those 30 years. When I started 12 years ago, we were at 20 families. So you can see how we've been able to increase our ability to serve local families. However, with inflation and everything that's happened in the past 4 or 5 years, we have over 100 families that have inquired about housing on a wait list. Now, not all those families have qualified. We don't qualify them until we have a place for them to go to. but that's how many inquiries we've had in the last year or so. The need is growing astronomically, and wages are certainly not keeping up with the cost of housing. The last house that Habitat built, we built a triplex. It's over on Elmore Drive, around the corner from all of the row houses that are being built by Freeman Park. You're familiar with the area? Because those houses were selling for over $300,000 a unit. When we had appraisals done on those 3 units in the triplex, they came in over $300,000. How do you make that affordable for a single mom with 3 kids? Okay, this is how Habitat does it. We look at the monthly income, and we take 30% of it, and that's the maximum that we will charge that family monthly to live in the house. So what happened on those 3 houses, I have 3 single moms with children moving into them. They moved in February. None of them could afford $300,000, even with Habitat's 0 interest loan. Okay? So what we do is we reduce the price that we charge them monthly to a place that's 30% of their income. So they end up with 2 mortgages on their home. A first mortgage, which I call the payback mortgage, and then a silent mortgage for the balance of what they could not afford to pay monthly. So over time, over 30 years, they're paying 30% of their income, and it turned out to be like a little over $200,000 for these 3 families. And the balance, $75,000, I'm estimating, is forgiven over time. So if they stay in the home for 30 years, they owe nothing on their primary mortgage, their payback mortgage, and the silent mortgage is completely forgiven. So the financial benefit of what Habitat's doing is something that not everybody sees very easily. Yes, they get into a brand new home at an affordable price, but we're with them for those whole 30 years, supplementing their income. So when I do grant writing for different grants, and I say, we've served 35 families, that doesn't sound so big. But when you think that we're serving 35 families every day of the year financially over a 30-year period, that's massive. We changed the direction of that family's lives. A lot of our families, once they're in their homes and their mortgage payments are affordable, they go back to school and they'll become, I've had several people go back and get nursing degrees. I've had, oh, there we are, okay. All right. Yeah. We can move on. I think I've touched a lot of that. This is the reason this land inventory issue is probably what started us thinking about Peterson Place. When I started with Habitat, we could find building sites for $15,000, $22,000. They're infill lots in older subdivisions around Idaho Falls. They are no longer available. When I was looking for building sites a couple years ago, they were $75,000, if you could find them. So the board directed me to keep my eyes open for a parcel so we could start a whole community. And this is what happened, yeah. We can go to the next slide. This is a preliminary drawing of what Habitat's Community of Hope will look like. There's a lot of new concepts that we're using. You can see how there's little pocket communities within the entire community. We're hoping to build each pocket all at once and have everybody work on each other's homes during the build process. So we're creating community while we're building the community. On the property is an older farmhouse, and we will be turning that into a community center where we will have classes in personal finances, you know, all of these things that we used to learn in high school, or they're not teaching anymore. So how do you budget for a household? Budgeting classes will be part of it. How about how to stage your home and organize it? Information on how to be a good citizen. Are you voting? Have you registered to vote? All kinds of things like that. We'll be able to bring people together and create opportunity for them to learn. When we're working with low-income and middle-income families that have never owned homes before, these things are not as obvious as they might be to other people. So training is a big part of Habitat also. Yeah, the need for affordable housing is growing, but so isn't the cost. And that's the catch-22 that Habitat's in. When I try to look into the future with Peterson Place, yes, we're getting a big grant, but it's seed money, gets us started, gets the property purchased, gets the infrastructure in. But the actual building of the homes, I was asked to do a 10-year projection of cost. Honestly, I don't know how to project that in today's world with inflation the way it is. But just playing with the numbers and adding 5% increases and doing what I could logically do, we're looking at a project between $25 and $30 million to get this work done. Okay. Can we move on to the other one? Because that's kind of... Maybe not. But what I think where I went with the next slides is just to try to understand the overriding need, because housing is so insecure now. Nope. That's the same one.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties here. I've been fighting with technology all day. Right now, we are waiting on final approval to receive the funding. What the general public, what I wasn't aware of, when Congressman Simpson had our dedication and groundbreaking out there on the property, that was just the very beginning. The way it works is Congress passed the appropriation for Habitat. Once it was passed, HUD is the one who is managing that. So we had to apply. We were the only organization allowed to apply, but we literally had to reapply for the funding. HUD wanted to make sure that Habitat for Humanity Idaho Falls had the infrastructure in order to take care of this. So that took a number of months. During that time, I knew that we had to do an environmental review. We had already done an environmental review. I was real calm about it. Well, the environmental review that Habitat did was just the beginning, because an environmental review from HUD's perspective involves level 1, level 2, a market study to determine if we need the project, right? We had to do a historic review on the farm. We did a sound abatement study, amongst others. So we right now have a 4-inch binder full of studies. We're waiting on the historic review to be completed. Then it will go out for public comment for 30 days. Then it goes back to HUD National, and I haven't done this before. I'm assuming it's not going to be too many hoops to jump through once it goes to the national level. Right now it's being reviewed by the state of Idaho HUD. And then it goes to national, and we wait for final approval. So I'm anticipating we will have funds, best case scenario, by July of this year. So we haven't started the infrastructure yet. We haven't even gotten bids yet. We've estimated what the bids will be. But again, with everything changing and inflation going on, it's just a hard thing to capture, and bids are only good for 30 days. So, yeah.
How do you determine, if you have 100 families looking for low-cost, decent housing, I would imagine the sifting process of who to choose, which 3 families to choose.
Okay, that was on one of the slides that I had, but it's tried and proven for the past 29 years here in Idaho Falls. You have to have lived within the area for at least 1 year. You have to have some form of dependable income, okay? And you must be either a U.S. citizen or have the legal right to work in the United States. Then, those are just in order to even apply. Once they apply, there's 3 things we look at. We look at their ability to repay the zero interest loan. We are a lender, okay, so they have to have enough income. And we look at credit score, but more than credit score, we look at their debt to income ratio. We want to make sure that the housing payment that they'll pay won't be a burden on them. So we score them financially. Then we interview them, and this is what we call willingness to partner. Do they understand the Habitat program? Do they realize they're going to have to do a minimum of 300 hours sweat equity? We make it as easy as possible for these families to do their sweat equity. If there's medical or disability things involved, we'll have them work in the office, or we'll have them do phone calling. You know, we'll do whatever we can to let them make those sweat equity hours. And then the final thing we do is we literally go and visit where they're currently living. So we assess their need. We were in a home recently that had water issues, mold and mildew issues, insect issues, electrical problems, and then when we went out back to the little enclosed back area, there were tripping hazards. That family went right up to the top of our list. The family we're building for this year, the Ortiz family, mom, dad, 5 children. Mom had COVID. It ultimately ended with kidney disease for her. They had been saving for a home. She could no longer work. They depleted their savings, found Habitat. We're building a 5-bedroom, 2.5-bath home for them this year. Yeah, I know, don't get me going. She's absolutely an incredible person, the mom is. And I'll ask her, how are you doing? And she never fully discloses to me how bad it is. Recently, we were asked not to put the half bath in the house because she's going to need it to store her dialysis equipment. So this family is incredible. There's 3 little girls. They're like 5, 6, and 7. It's just beautiful. And then there's 2 older children. So it'll be a 2-bedroom, 1.5-bath home upstairs, and then we're finishing the entire basement with 3 more bedrooms and a small family room. So, Habitat requires that we follow their guidelines for building. And so none of our homes are more than about 1,300 square feet per level. So in Peterson Place, we will have tiny homes up to 600 square feet, and we will have attached units, triplexes and duplexes, and then we'll have traditional Habitat for Humanity size homes. What we want to do in each one of these pockets is have a mixed, we're not going to put all of the tiny homes in one spot and all of the Habitat homes in another. We're going to integrate the communities, build them all at one time. The reason we are focusing on smaller homes is because I have a lot of single individuals calling for help. People on fixed incomes, our aging community, and they were falling through the cracks because when we do our selection process, if there's a family of 7 with medical issues like the Ortiz's family, they're going to go right to the top of the list. So we'll have 2 separate lists, one for single individuals and one for family. So, I've been thinking about this for over 3 years, and I'm just so anxious to get it started, but with every big idea, there's a lot of preparation and a lot of things to jump through. Yeah. So, as individuals, what can you do? You can come and help us build. If that sounds like too much, you can bring donuts to the people that are helping us build. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to make people feel good about being on the build site. Our restore run is open 6 days a week. We always need help in the restore. I've had a lot of senior citizens just work as cashiers and volunteer their time there. And then we use volunteers in our office for filing and miscellaneous chores. So you can volunteer. You can donate unwanted items to the restore. We always take money. So you can donate time, treasure, whatever. And then if you know someone, and I don't know anybody anymore that doesn't know a family that needs our help, refer them to Habitat. And if you really want to be supportive to the families, you can provide family support during the build process and help them through that whole thing. It takes us a while. We use volunteers, so you know it's not going to be you get qualified for Habitat and have a home within a month or 2. It can take 6 months, it can take a year. So lots of ways to help, guys. Okay, I think I've taken enough of your time. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
You said that people who are the most qualified have income that is dependable, and that 30% of that income is the highest that they'll pay for their payments, which is wonderful. What happens to those families, though, that lose a job or something like that within that?
Perfect. We have never foreclosed on a family in 29 years. Okay? We instruct our families, if you're having problems, please come talk to us as soon as you know you're going to have a problem. Okay? We have worked with family. I had a young woman, single mom, who was in the pipeline getting her house built, and she lost her job. I had her come in and work 10 hours a week with Habitat, mainly to give her a little bit of money, but also to make sure I was encouraging her to continue to apply for another job, and she ended up with even a better job. During COVID and everything that was going on, we put out to our families, if you can't pay your mortgage and you get behind, we will recast that mortgage. Whatever payments you've missed, we'll put on the end of your loan. Because we don't charge interest, it's a simple process to do. We will do that one time. We don't want people coming in and asking for it more than once, but that's one thing that we'll do to help families. So we just keep in very close contact with our mortgage holders. Something that I didn't talk about at Peterson Place is the fact that it's going to be a housing cooperative, which is a new concept for the state of Idaho. It's not a new concept nationwide, but there are no other housing cooperatives in the state of Idaho. So we're breaking ground there. And the reason we're doing it is because we want to teach people how to be good homeowners. When you buy into a housing cooperative, you don't buy a house, you buy into the whole community. So if something's going wrong in this community, you have a voice, you have a vote, and you can help remedy any situation that might come up. That's going to be big. The other thing that we're doing at Peterson Place, and partly because the funding for the ground is being granted to us, we're putting the ground into a community land trust. And so what will happen is there'll be a lease agreement with the cooperative to use that land for the homes, a 100-year lease, whatever. So people are not going to have to pay $75,000 for their building site. They'll just pay a small lease fee. We have also expanded our income guidelines. 25 to 80% of the median income are is the financial parameter that we help. These people are called ALICE. Has anybody heard about ALICE? ALICE is a United Way term. Asset limited, income constrained, employed. We are not building low-income housing. We are building workforce housing for low-income people. So. Sorry about, oh, there it is, yeah. 43% of the people in Idaho Falls, the families in Idaho Falls, cannot afford basic necessities of housing, transportation, food, daycare, and medical insurance. Yeah, almost 50% of our population. Yeah.
Is the city of Idaho Falls, well, I know the county's probably not, but the city of Idaho Falls, have they expressed any interest in, I guess learning about maybe
Partnering with Habitat?
Or doing, maybe looking at this as a model or an example?
If we're able to do this the way it's envisioned, it will be a model for the entire country. I've been working with Habitat National, talking about how we're layering the community land trust with the housing cooperative piece. They're behind us 100%, and all of the conversations that I've had with the city have been positive, except we now have impact fees, right? Habitat was used to paying $3,000, maybe $4,000 permitting and connection fees. The bill for our build for the Ortiz house, the permitting and impact fees are coming up to nearly $11,000. So I just keep looking at what's happening. Our contractors, yes, materials have gone up, but contractor wages have gone up just as much as the materials. So it's a tight financial thing. Yeah. I don't want to be we're going to do it. I'm going to tell you about how the God of my understanding works. And then I'll end all this. Many years ago, before we had the staff that we currently have, I was executive director. We had a restore open, but we had no restore manager, so I was doing it all. One morning I go into work and I had 4 volunteers lined up to take care of things in the restore. One called and said, sorry, I can't make it. One person showed up. 2 people, no call, no show. Okay? So I have 1 person, an older woman, at the cash register in the restore. And I'm thinking, I need to go to the bank. I need to go to the post office. So I go to her and I say, I'm really sorry. I'm going to be gone about 20 minutes and I'll be right back. Well, I go out to my car. I put my head down on the steering wheel and I go, oh my God, I can't do this much longer. I go to the post office and I receive a letter. Congratulations, you have been approved for a capacity build grant to hire a restore manager. Same day. Yeah. So those things are here, and even as tough as it feels right now, I know that this thing is going to come to fruition if I live long enough. I'm 72 next week, so I'm thinking, everybody says, how come you're not retired yet? And it's because this is too important to walk away from. Got to get it done. Yeah.
What area does this habitat encompass?
Okay. A number of years ago, we received a directed funding for the city of Ashton. So in order to work in Ashton, we had to expand our service area to connect all the way up there. It's too far to go. It's a 100-mile round trip for us to build up there. So those funds will be used up this year. We're building 2 more homes in Ashton. And then we're going to pull it back to Bonneville County only. I'd rather do a good job in Bonneville County than spread ourselves that thin. Okay. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Let's rise in body and spirit and join in singing hymn number 121. Oh.
We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Be a land building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where like oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come build a land, my people we seek. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
That hymn is really very close to what Karen just talked about. The closing words are from the Reverend Mark Bellatini. Go in peace, live simply, gently, at home with yourselves, act justly, speak justly. Remember the depth of your own compassion. Forget not your power in the days of your powerlessness. Crave peace for all people in the world, beginning with yourselves. And go as you go with that dream of peace alive in your heart. Please join me now in reading the words for the extinguishing of our chalice flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Please join us downstairs.